soup to nuts cake, also known as the cake that has tomato soup in it. I saw this recipe in my great grandmother Mabel's recipe book that has mostly recipes from the 1950s and 1960s in it, and I said to myself, now this is one of the weirdest recipes I've ever seen, which meant I had to make it. I have not made this cake before, so I'm figuring out a lot of it as I'm making it today. I've never eaten it before. I have had a description of it from my mom and my aunts, and they all pretty solidly say, you know, it's pretty good. Kind of tastes like carrot cake. So with that, I feel a little reassured that it's not disgusting. I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I hate tomato soup. I hate it. I like it only in the capacity of a dipping sauce for grilled cheese. And even then, I want it to be something I made and not Campbell's. Sorry, Campbell's. Love ya, but hate your soup. As far as why this cake exists, I couldn't find any real historical compelling story. Campbell's does take credit for inventing the tomato soup cake. They don't call it soup to nuts cake, but they do call it tomato soup cake. And they said that it originated as early as the 1920s. They started fiddling around with it in the 1940s, and by 1966 they had solidified their recipe and started printing it on the back of tomato soup cans. As to the name soup to nuts, my guess is that that is a regionalism that started because the phrase soup to nuts is a colloquialism, which I didn't know of the phrase as a colloquialism until I started researching this cake. Soup to nuts means from start to finish, like a meal, because I guess people used to start meals with soup, which I'm used to, and they used to end their meals with nuts, which is not something I'm used to, but like that sounds great. I love nuts. I would say like dinners should be nuts to nuts. I'm nuts about nuts. Let's get started on making great grandmother Mabel's soup to nuts cake. So as far as recipes from the past go, this actually has quite a bit of instruction. So I believe the instructions were mix all together, putting nut meats in last, bake at 350 until done. No, that's actually not a bad roadmap to success compared to sometimes what you're left with. What I have learned though is when you're making a cake, how you mix it together does really matter. So I'm not gonna just mix everything together all at once. That would actually be kind of hard to like get it evenly dispersed. So what I'm gonna do is mix it exactly like I would a carrot cake. I think the recipe kind of reads like a carrot cake, and since both my mom and my aunt said that it tastes like a carrot cake, that's what I'm gonna do. So that simply is mixing all the dry together and then mixing all the wet together and then allowing the twain to meet. I also don't know what size pan to bake this in. What I'm gonna do is mix it all together, see how much batter there is, and then we'll make a decision from there together. Alright, so let's mix together the dry. What I have here is 1 cup of flour plus 2 tablespoons, all-purpose flour, 1 teaspoon of ground cinnamon and a 1/2 teaspoon of ground cloves, and a nutmeg here, and I'm just gonna grate some into my microplane. So this really kind of seems like a spice cake so far. And I would normally say, where's the salt? I'll just go ahead and throw a little salt in, but I realize this has tomato soup in it. That tomato soup probably has a lot of salt. So if you're wondering if you should add salt to this step, don't do it. Let's just mix this all together. Let us mix together the wet. 1 egg. Put it in the bowl and give it a little whooshing. Whoosh it. This is 1/3 of a cup of vegetable oil. My great grandma's recipe actually called for shortening. I don't have any shortening around right now, and I feel like I would probably have to melt it anyway to get it to mix in pretty well, so I feel pretty good about using veggie oil. You could also try using melted butter. I always prefer vegetable oil in these kind of cakes because I think it makes the cake moister at room temperature, but picky. All right, 1 cup of white sugar. All right, and then stir it around. Time for things to get a little weird. So it's tomato soup time. The recipe calls for us to put baking soda, 1 teaspoon of baking soda, into a can of Campbell's tomato soup. She's probably having us do that for 2 reasons. The main reason I would guess is because it helps disperse the baking soda evenly. Have you ever been eating a cake and you get a big clump of baking soda that didn't get mixed in and then you're unhappy for the rest of your life? Well, that's what she's trying to avoid. Why are you shaking your head at me?
Because I haven't had that happen.
Oh, he hasn't had that happen. The second reason I would guess is baking soda only works to raise a cake in the presence of an acid. So if you've ever seen, baking soda and vinegar volcanoes that children make for science fairs, or maybe you do for fun on a Friday night, that's what's going on there, is baking soda is reacting to vinegar and creating gas. So it might also be to give the baking soda a head start, because tomato soup is filled with acid. Let's put some baking soda in some tomato soup. My cameraman has advised that we put the tomato soup into this here vessel. So here we go. Just in case there's an explosion. I don't want to promise that, though. Oh, man. I really don't actually like tomato soup very much. And honestly, I hate the smell. Alright, so that's a can of tomato soup. Use baking soda. Alright. Cool. Oh, yeah. Oh, it's going. That's wild. Can you see that? Yeah, it's foamy tomato soup. We're now going to add that to the wet. A little tomato soup volcano. And here we go. And don't leave any tomato soup behind. Really get that in there. Let's party! Alright, so the last thing to do is to fold in our nut meats. When you see nut meats in an old recipe like this, because we don't see that word in recipes these days, it just means nuts. That's all. It's just letting you know that, it's just the meaty part of the nut and not the shell. Alright, we fold that in. And that's it. There are some lumps in this cake a little bit. I'm not too worried about it. I don't want to mix it too much, otherwise your cake will be tough. Alright, batter is done, y'all. Alright, time to bake it. My heart is saying that this is an 8-inch cake. And we'll find out together if my heart is a liar. So let's hope it doesn't lie to me. And I sprayed the pan and I put parchment in the bottom, which is sort of my go-to for when baking a new cake. When in doubt, spray it out. Put some parchment in the bottom. Always take the time to really scrape it. Don't leave any batter behind, even if it's tomato soup batter. Okay. And we're gonna bake it at 350. Bye, little cake. See you on the other side. All right, cake is out of the oven. It was in there for about a half hour. It got springy to the touch. This little belly button is from me poking it to see if it was actually done. Let's see if we can get this out of here. I always like to have an offset to run around the edges. If you don't have an offset, you can just use a knife. Okay, now let's see if this comes out. Like a glove that you're done wearing. Like, what a beautiful red color. I will say I was going on a lot about how bad it smelled. The aroma has really mellowed out. That's what this looks like. I'm gonna let this cool down, and then I guess we'll frost it, and then we'll eat it. Alright guys, this is what the inside of the cake looks like. It's a deep, dark red filled with tomato soup. Okay. Cut off a piece to try here. Yeah, out of all the canned peaches projects we've done, this is the only one I'm kind of nervous about. Alright, here we go. You know, it tastes like a spice cake, but it absolutely tastes like tomato soup too. So like, I get why my mom said it tastes like carrot cake, but like, there's no getting around that there's tomato in here. You know, it's not bad. It's not bad. Would I make it again? I would not. Am I glad that I made it? Yeah, I'm interested. But it's tomato soup in a cake, y'all. Let's not fool ourselves. So here's a little bit of behind the scenes honesty for y'all. When we were getting ready to film the final take of me eating cake and trying the recipe for the first time, the memory on my phone filled up, and so we shot it, and then my phone didn't save it, and so it was gone. So I cleared off my phone and we shot it again. Now what became clear to me the first time we shot it is that I really don't like eating this cake. Kind of act like I do like it through the power of acting and through the power of keeping an open mind. Second time we shoot it, I'm like, okay, I don't really want to like, you know, put down a bunch more of this cake, but you know, do it for YouTube. So we shoot it again, and lo and behold, my phone has the same problem again with the memory, and the footage is gone again. Realizing that now I'm going to have to eat it again, I get a little sad. I think we did like a shot of whiskey or something to kind of like clear the taste out of our mouth. We finally shoot it. It finally works. That's why when you see the cake, there's like a big chunk of it missing. It's because I kept having to like slice off more and more cake to eat it. My associate producer Alex also didn't like it. And what we started to wonder is, would somebody else like it? Would somebody who didn't know that it was tomato soup like it? Could they tell if it had tomato soup in it? Could you like it more if you weren't the ones watching tomato soup foam in front of your eyes? So we did the only thing that we could think of doing, which was to deliver a slice of tomato soup cake to an unsuspecting friend and have them try it.
It's not bad. I mean, I don't hate it. I mean, I'm still eating it.
She liked it! And she also thought it was sweet potato, so who knows what you'll think. Maybe you'll love it. Thank you so much for watching and supporting the Canned Peaches project. Go ahead and give tomato soup a try. Please tell me what you think of it. I'd love to hear all about it. Follow us for more videos and check out the website if you want the complete tomato soup to nuts cake recipe written down for you. All right, bye-bye.
Action or whatever.
Blech.